Hi, it's Nicole for Bella Blvd, and today I am cutting into the One Fall Day collection from Bella Blvd. I am going to be putting together a 2-page layout, and I've got my photos already printed, and I'm going to go through the supplies here real quick. I have yet to cut into this collection, so I'm going to do what I usually do, and it's debate over papers for a while. I feel like once you kind of cut into a collection and you have scraps and you've kind of already played with stuff the first time, consecutive layouts I feel like go a little bit quicker, at least with my workflow. So the first one I feel like is always the kind of get to know the collection, get to know the papers, that type of thing. I am following a sketch. I will have that linked below under my video for where you can find that. The time that I'm doing this voiceover, I'm not 100% sure if it's a free sketch that I can kind of show on screen or if it was one from a paid download. So when I go to link the collection and all the juicy details in the description box, I will make sure to link that. I did go ahead and save myself a little bit of gluing work by making my right page photos into a collage instead of printing them out individually, cutting them, and then basically putting them back together. This was just a quicker process, and it's one that I tend to forget to do. So I was really proud of myself that I remembered to go ahead and get that done. And I will say that, and I think I've mentioned this in previous videos, I don't get a lot of opportunities to play with fall products. I love fall products. I think the icons and the colors are just so fun. I just happen to live somewhere that we don't have those traditional fall, seasonal type things. So usually fall collections kind of issue a challenge to my brain to try to figure out photos. But this one, as soon as I pulled it out and I started looking at the die cuts and there was a heavy emphasis on the pumpkin patch, I immediately realized that I think I've only documented 1 year of going to the pumpkin patch. So I knew that I had at least a couple years to go back and find photos for. And I grabbed these and I was like, yes, let's go back in time. Let's see when my kids were little. I feel like lately it's been a lot of stuff closer to current time. But I am somebody who very much does not work chronologically. I store my albums and my layouts chronologically. But I like being able to bounce around in my photos and kind of work on, what fits the collection best, and knowing that I have many, many years open to me just kind of works for my process. I am going through and trimming my photos after I have made some difficult decisions. I feel like I always go for those B-sides, but I was pretty proud of myself. I picked this. I would consider these kind of rainbow colored leaves an A-side. I am going to put a B-sided mat on top of it, but I was pretty proud of myself for kind of leaning into an A-side today. And then I cut a bunch of borders from one of the cut apart sheets to use as the strips that were depicted on the sketch as well. Because I'm using cut apart borders and not the pre-measured measurements that were on the sketch, I did kind of have to work that math a little bit. But basically I just tried to make sure that my outer left margin and my outer right margin were roughly the same as the top and bottom, which is about an inch. So I just kind of made sure that the strips that I was picking left about an inch of a margin. If it didn't, I kind of just scooted it in a little bit and overlapped some of the papers. I thought I could cut that strip right there with my trimmer. I could not. This was from that cut apart border sheet, and I wanted to use it on both sides, so I needed to cut it into 2 pieces. So I just very carefully used an X-Acto knife and a grid ruler to try to kind of hold it down, because there was no way I was going to be able to get that cut on my trimmer. I love the kind of pop of orange that this brings in. I don't love when you have like a pattern on a white background that ends touching white cardstock. I don't really know how to explain that. I really like to be able to bring in like something more solid on the edge of that. And that's just a personal preference. Once I got all that figured out, which I can't believe how long that took me to get all of the papers and the photos straight and cut to the right heights, I'm going to go ahead and do some hand stitching. I like hand stitching. My preference is tone on tone, so 9 times out of 10 that is what I go for. A couple times I have challenged myself to do more of like a contrasting, eye-catching type of stitching, and I have learned that that is just not for me. So I am very much, you do you, keep doing those things that you enjoy. And for me, it's things like B-sides, tone on tone, everything, hand stitching, that type of stuff. I do like to try to challenge myself to, you know, like I said, either do contrasting stitching or maybe bring in an A side instead of a B side like I did today. I think in today's layout, that busy like leaf print really worked out well over there. And then I've got all of my papers down, all of my photos are down, hand stitching is done. So now I'm just going to pretty quickly embellish this. With it being a double page layout, I like to try to get a bunch of photos because to me I don't want to extend it into more than one layout. So if I can get every photo that I feel like tells the story of this event onto these 2 pages, that works for my personal preference and my personal process. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. I like to just show how I work my process, and maybe you guys can find some inspiration or just enjoy seeing something cute be created. So I used the Happy Bunch of Pumpkins, which was from the die cut pack that has like all the phrases and titles. And then I'm sorting through the die cut pack that has more of like the icons and stuff. And everything in my left hand was like an immediate no based on just size. Like that's like one of the first things I sort through is just go ahead and pull out the stuff that I feel like is going to be too big for this application. Like the red truck fit better, the sign fit better than some of the other options. And then I kind of just make a pile. It's a little bit out of frame, but I make a pile right in front of me of anything that I think would work for the layout. Doesn't mean it's going to make it onto the layout. It just makes a smaller pile of stuff for me to go through, so I'm not constantly kind of going back and forth between the different die cut packs and stuff. So with this being about the pumpkin patch, I was like, yes, let's go ahead and use some of these pumpkins. I don't know outside of the pumpkin, like I don't have anything planned yet for one fall day when I come back to it. When I was sorting through everything, I noticed that my eyes were catching more on like the Thanksgiving food home type elements. So I'm kind of thinking maybe doing this year's Thanksgiving with one fall day, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I feel like this one was very much like the bright colors, the leaves, the pumpkins. And so I feel like next time I pull this out, I kind of want to focus more on like the navy, the reds, the darker greens, and like I said, the like food and like indoor elements. Whereas today I was focused more on like the outdoor elements. So I just split everything kind of between a big scene where my title is and my like main photo. Printed my journaling to fill this gap on the photo collage, and I just made sure that the text was situated in that rectangle to where I still had space left over for this cute little truck that has pumpkins in the back of it, and then I'm going to be able to tuck the little die cut that has like the signs and basically create like almost like a photo corner cluster. This is something that I like to do a lot as well. And with anything, I like to start with these larger pieces first and then just fill in with like the smaller pieces and then come back and fill in even more with like tiny pieces or phrase stickers, that type of thing. So I'm just going to tuck some more of the leaves that I used on the left side over here on the right side, so everything kind of matches. and then check my sticker sheet and see if there's anything else that I wanted to include. And that completes my layout for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Make sure to check the description box if you're looking for anything specific. Leave me a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not. And I'm going to leave you guys here, and I'll catch you in another video. Bye.